Podcast Episode 2. Welcome back to the ASN Podcast. I'm your host, Cyborg, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host,
Akkere, also go by Steve. Howdy, gamers.
Hi Gamers. I just need you to know, I love the orange fit. Was there a special occasion for that? Or
Nah, it's just kind of like, I don't really have like a t-shirt print. I'm actually doing a ton of laundry, and I don't feel like digging up like something special to print. So I'm like, well, I should probably like bring something. So I got this, and I've been doing like the glasses thing, because my girlfriend Kat actually suggested to me we could try doing glasses for like job interviews for stuff, and just doing that, hoping that helps give me the edge. And I figured, why don't I bring it also to the podcast? Why not?
I like the look. You now need to pull up in that look specifically. Also, it looks like you should have a baseball jersey.
I mean, I'm gonna pull up with the full-on Steve Jobs look. I got the turtleneck. I'm just gonna roll up like.
Steve Jobs was also a dick, though. Terrible person.
That's good. That means that I can also be a dick in that look, and people just be like, instead of being like, "Wow, what an asshole," they'd be like, "That's expected."
Just all right. That's the first bit of advice we can give you is just dress like an asshole, and people don't expect better of you. You don't have to be a good person.
Set the bar low, the low as you can, and that way, when you do the bare minimum, people are like, "Wow, that's so cool." And when you don't, do the bare minimum, they're like, I don't know what I expected.
You know what doesn't set the bar low? Anime Social Nexus events. That's how we call it. That's what we call a transition, folks.
That's true. We've got we've had some pretty strong events actually just recently that passed in New York City, and we've got more to come, of course.
I'm saying this now, and the president, Koji. He and our other VP, Varun, threw a great event at the Summer Bash that happened at Sugar Mouse. I was there for the setup. There was a fun little snafu where another event was running a little bit over time, so we had to stress and rush to get everything set up. But when I tell you, it was an incredible event, and just seeing all the hard work, throwing a dope party, and having a bunch of cosplayers come out. I enjoyed a couple of dances with my girlfriend, which I was really happy about because we don't get to hang out all that often. Shout out to you, babe. And then getting to ride in the car back and be super hyped for this amazing first of its kind anime party in New York. Audience, don't fact check me. Don't fact check me. Maybe it's the first of its kind. You guys can deal with it.
No one has ever made an anime themed party before in all of New York City. Probably ever, actually. No one has ever done it.
They don't know what anime is in New York.
They don't know. Anime was actually only just recently brought over to the West. Crazy, I know.
20 days ago.
Yeah, just 20 days ago. It was just brought up. No one knew what it was. When Toonami came around, they were just like, wow, these cartoons are really detailed.
There's going to be someone in this audience or who listens to this who go like, these guys are idiots. They think they invented anime. Hey, y'all, that's the joke. This is going to be a bit that we invented anime, and our president is going to kill us.
True.
But no. It was a really fun party. I really wish that you could have joined, but you were having another great adventure on your own because we returned back to the house at the same time.
Yeah, I was on my own path. I was on the old beaten path, but that puts me in a pretty good situation because for any of our listeners who did not get to go to the party and might be curious what was up, I can ask questions because I wasn't there. I don't know. I'm curious. I'm excited to know what's in this.
Okay.
Anime Summer Bash.
Taking it from the top. First things first. Shout out to Sugar Mouse. They were dope. Dope location. Have you ever been there before?
Yes, once.
Yeah. So just to describe it to our listeners, it's not out of the way type of bar in New York, but it's definitely one of those things where it's next to two other things that are taking up more visual real estate. You walk in and it feels like you're going into the Tunnel of Oz because it's just super bright, well-lit blue hallway into this underground bar with pool tables and big TVs. And then on the other side is they had some arcade games and then a stage where our DJs were going off. We had two DJs who were performing that night, or two DJ sets. The first was DJ Brixton. Then we also had DJ Keon, who we've worked with him before in the past, and he's dope. Otakus with Attitude came out and showed out. There were dancers. And all of our cosplay guests were just there. It was one of those things where I don't know how you feel about like summer parties, but I like a good. We are just kicking off summer with dope vibes, good drinks, and people just having a good time. No one's really taking themselves too seriously. And really funny, there was another event that day, which was the Shadow or the Sonic look-alike contest hosted by Xander. So a ton of the cosplays were Sonic inspired.
Yeah. All right. Well, it sounds like there was a lot that had to do. So if you're feeling FOMO because you missed out, you should. You should feel FOMO, and maybe if there's a New York City event. I mean, I know if you're listening from New Jersey, and especially if you're listening from PA, New York City is a pretty big hop and a skip, but it might be worth it after all.
Man, they don't even have to wait that long to the next New York event. We have an anime rave coming up on August 2nd, right?
Oh, really? You said August 2nd?
August 2nd, 2025, Asbury Park, New Jersey, House of Independence. We have an anime/K-pop rave. It was just announced today, the day of our recording. We as hosts know about it well in advance, but we were giving them time to announce it. Officially announced. Go get your tickets. They're super cheap. It's a great time. It's the same location that we had our rave last year, and I'm super excited because once again, I don't have to work that event. I can just go as a guest and enjoy myself.
That's the best place to be. I can tell you that much.
The audience is going to get sick and tired of us talking about like how much work setup is and how we're running around panicking trying to make sure the event goes well. When you are an ASN council member and then you get to turn around and just go as a general like guest, like, oh, I paid my ticket, I can just have a good time. World different stressing. You're just looking at all your friends like, oh, I know what that's like, stressed out.
Listen, being an adult is about finding out that like all those people that you thought were more competent than you are just winging it as much as you are now. Being like a council member is finding out that like, yeah, it's the same thing in like the professional environment. All of human like history and activities is just people simultaneously winging it, just sitting there saying, let's fucking go. That's it. That's all it is. So, just keep that in mind in the back of your mind. If you feel imposter syndrome, don't. And just keep in mind, you could just keep winging it.
But yeah, no, if guests want some more fun, they can go to the K-pop rave August 2nd, Asbury Park, House of Independence. Another fun event, while we're skipping around to the group announcements.
And yeah, House of Independence, for the record, is actually in Asbury Park. So if you're in like, New Jersey and, you're like, oh, I still don't know if I can make it to New Jersey. It's in New Jersey. It's easy.
It's going to be really fun because I think we're also going to try like doing a little beach trip before that. So hang out at the beach and then go to the rave. A second event that's going to be coming up, and this one's a completely different vibe, but still fun. It's the Field Day and the Summer Festival. Now, this is a recurring event that ASN usually puts on. It's typically a field day like you were a little kid again, but complete with other mini games. There's also a picnic, just general party vibes in the park. That's going to be at Cheesequake. Tickets should be coming live, or they should be live by the time that this is recorded and put out for the world. So please check the description for the link to the tickets. That being said, Field Day 2025, I'm also planning that, and that's a lot of me running around with my head on fire. But we got special guests for that. Did I ever tell you that?
Oh, who would be that special guest?
The KakaroCon staff. We're hosting it with KakaroCon this year.
Oh, that's very special.
Yeah, we got homies now.
Yeah, and if you might also be some of our listeners might be doubly familiar with the KakaroCon staff because they also used to be part of a other hit convention called Anime Next. R.I.P.
R.I.P. Anime Next. 2023 is not your best showing, but you tried your best.
We always hear from like a lot of people who join that like there's a lot of people who actually have this story. In fact, some of our most recent like staff that we brought on about how like Anime Next was like a very key part of like connection for like the group. So even if whatever like people's thoughts were for like the 2023 show, it'll always have a special place in our hearts.
I always remember Anime Next because I was stuck in a booth making friends with everybody, and I'm pretty sure I got severely dehydrated and forgot to drink water because I was just like talking to that many people, and it was a hot convention center in the middle of like a terrible was it July when it happened? It was in the middle of summer. It was like a good Jersey summer too, like pure heat, no air, just oof. But on our Patreon, if we ever get the clearance, I'll tell the real war stories of that of that time.
And it'll be very exciting to know about, once we get some clearance on that and get to cover some spicy stories.
Yeah. So remember, if you want to hear all the Cyborg story times, put it in the comments of this video, please. If the people want it, they'll let me do it.
Yeah, if we check
They'll
it
let
like
me
even
rant.
just like one person to just say in the comments to me like, yeah, I want to hear like the stories and stuff. That'll probably just be enough. If we got like 5 people though,
Oh,
if
we
we
get
get
5
10
people. That's
people,
great. The last event I have to recap because I've been yapping everybody's ear off about that is DreamCon 2025. So DreamCon 2025, if you guys don't know, and there's some of you who may not know because we're on the East Coast and you may live under rocks, DreamCon 2025 is the anime, gaming, streaming, basically pop culture convention put on by RDC. If you don't know who RDC is, then that's one of those. Either you missed it or you're definitely under a rock. Steve, you have no choice because you're my friend. I keep yapping about them.
I actually
They're
am also hearing this for the first time. So I do because I do live under a rock. So
Yeah, but you have a nice rock though. RDC, basically, they're really huge YouTubers, or they're a little bit more than YouTubers now. They're YouTubers, streamers. They're also like authors. They're basically in that first wave from like 2010 ish, or not 2010, like the 2013 Vine era. They became popular. They have like the big videos of like when you take anime too far, and then they kind of just like steadily became bigger. They do like Hood Avatar, the Hood Avengers, Anime House is another big series they have on YouTube. They put together a convention where the forefront is like diversity and like black gaming nerd culture. And everybody's welcome. So if anybody wants to act a fool in the comments, just know I argue and go back and forth with people. So don't act a fool in my comments. I'm looking for an excuse, and you're going to give me a reason. But yeah, they
if you want to
basically
interact with
champion.
the host right now, just say something that disagrees with Avery. Comment right now.
Do it. Yeah, but it's a really cool convention where they like kind of champion diversity and just like people doing a lot of dope stuff. And I went there at the request of a couple of my friends who've like been there before, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna go, you're gonna love it. It's like the greatest thing ever." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm naturally skeptical, so I'm gonna be like, oh, it's pretty cool, but like you're probably like overblowing it. It's probably not that great. It's probably great, but it's like, is it great? Because I have to get on a plane. I also don't like flying. I have anxiety when I fly, so I have to already take off work, get on a plane, have anxiety, like go into a hotel room in Texas, which is very far from where we live, and like kind of chill, right? It's like one of those things where I'm like, I'm outside my element. I don't know how it's going to be good, but I'm going to a convention. I'll do it once, and then I'll say like, oh, I got to do it. I'm here to say right now, I was wrong. And to all my friends, all 5 of you who are looking at this, who told me to go to this convention, I apologize. This is one of the single greatest fucking events I've ever been to in my life. Like conventions I've ever been to in my life.
And what'd you like the most about it? What exactly makes you say that? What makes it stand out from like other like events that you've been to, other cons?
Can I give like the top 2 or 3? Because it's like a spread.
Only give me the top one half.
Okay.
Yeah, give me the top 3. Why not? Fuck it.
People were legitimately cool, and I don't mean in that. All right, I'm about to. Can I get controversial with my take on some stuff? Anime. I'm about to let us be trending real quick. I think there's a certain contingent of people who enjoy anime who try to act like they're too cool for school, and a part of liking anime is kind of like embracing how nerdy and cringy it can be. So I'm not going to say which cons on the public platform sign for the Patreon, but I've been to some conventions where some people can kind of be very I'll say politely, up their own behind. They can kind of look at your follower count and be like, oh, you're kind of not important. It gives like a real weird vibe, right? Everyone at DreamCon who we interacted with, for the most part, was they were just down to be like, you like anime? I also like anime. Like, no, I now need to follow you. Oh, you're like a niche gamer who's just talking about like the One Piece trading card game. Shout out to Dark Show, TCG. I'm now going to give you like 20 minutes of my day just to figure out about this thing. It was one of the truest experiences of fandom I've ever been around, where everyone was just there knowing like we all like this thing. We're going to embrace our nerdiness and really get into it. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen at a lot of conventions, but like there's a couple of conventions I've been to where people look like they're always trying to like be the coolest one in the room, even if they have like really dope cosplays. And I'm kind of the person who champions really dope stuff. But here, people were bringing their A game. Like, I met someone who fully 3D printed their own Iron Man armor. Like,
Wow.
3D. I'll show it to you. Like when we're off. Actually, I want to give him some promo. Shout out to Waffle Builds. And I just kind of went past them. I thought it was a Cyborg cosplay. It wasn't. Um, Completely 3D printed. He wired it with his own lights and wires to make it like sound interactive and everything. Had the helmet, and I found out like this dude's a maker and a cosplayer. Someone else like created from scratch his own Scorpion from Mortal Kombat cosplay. Lit that up and everything. Had like the skull prop and everything. So it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, these are some of the most impressive cosplays and like prop work I've ever seen. Also, I'm an amateur, so I don't know how like judge it fully. But it was one of these things where I'm like, oh, these people are like just doing their thing and like everyone's geeking out. Like you couldn't go more than like 20 steps without someone tapping you and be like, hey man, can I get a picture with you? Because like I like that thing you're wearing. Like I was taking pictures all day with people because I just had a cool Fire Force shirt on. And people were like, oh, where'd you get that? I was like, oh, it's this company. Um that's the biggest reason. Second reason is there's a ton of information. Like I said, RDC they're content creators first, so they kind of have a ton of content creating information through their panels. So you got to listen and say like, here's how you put together a pitch deck. Here's how you put together like music background choices. It
So you're
was
just
a
getting
ton
like
of
a lot of like insight and information,
yeah,
just all in real time.
yeah, and the panels themselves it felt like college lectures, which I'm a huge fan of going to conventions and engaging in panels and just getting to see the community and what people know. I was in some of these panels like learning like, oh, this is how you reach out to companies. This is how you do pitch network, which is super important for us as like ASN. It may not be for like the standard person. If you're the standard person, they still also did have really dope panels. Like I went to one that was just about the music of Samurai Champloo and Nujabes, who's the producer of a lot of that sound, and it was just his history and impact on the genre. And if you're wondering, oh, I've never heard that music because I've never watched Samurai Champloo, you probably studied for something. And when you study for something, you probably listen to lo-fi. The lo-fi hip hop beats are a branch of his music expertise. So like, getting to talk to these people and a lot of the presenters like left stuff on the floor. And also, if you're in our audience and you've ever had to like put together a panel, Steve, you put one together with me, you know you have to leave a good amount on the cutting room floor. And I'm looking at this stuff where I'm like telling people, I was like, hey, can I like get your notes, like read through this in my off time? Or like, do you
Yeah.
have this recorded so I can like go show my friends? Uh and then other than that, it was just kind of it generally it was cool. Like it was a really great artist alley, which I always like. And then just I'm, as you can tell, very big fan of diversity and stuff. So it was really cool to like see a lot of like black owned companies who I've heard like through tangentially like be in one space where they're kind of like celebrated in like one area, but then also have like a bunch of truly great connections. Like there's an artist, Ozzy creates a lot of stuff. I The Rock Lee poster behind me, he created that. I got to meet him and he
Hmm.
signed it for me. He signed stuff for me.
Oh, well,
So
that's always
yeah,
very special.
yeah, and also I've met like a couple of other like real niche celebrities who I've been following for a while, and they were like taking pictures with me. They were real cool. Also, the after party was real fun. I got to see our president dance, and that was great.
Hmm. Which
Yeah.
one of our presidents?
Uh, President Boji
Ah, classic.
fully left our
Speaking
group when we were getting water, and he's just running back in to start dancing.
classic. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's a fun thing that you can see if you go to our special anime event on August 2nd at Asbury Park.
Please go to this K-pop event, y'all. Go to it. Have some fun. Be a little cringy. Also, be prepared to dance because you can also say hi to me in real life.
To live is to be cringe. Buddha said that.
You know what? No, that's an Akira line. Now time for the next part because I like to hear you yap. What have you been reading and watching lately?
Honestly, I've been like very busy with like a lot of stuff, so it's been very hard for me to keep on tabs with stuff. I'm very excited though that My Hero Vigilantes has gotten an anime. It's gotten pretty deep into it. It has a absolute banger of an opening. and it's just so far it's been like pretty surge of popularity. I've been so happy like just seeing people get into it. It gets so much better. Which I know you don't hear often enough from My Hero related stuff. And yeah, just reading up on Chainsaw Man. It's good. It's just still very rough to read as an update manga, but I see the ping says new chapter. I gotta read it, even though I tell myself I should really just binge this sometime.
Oh, wait, what are the update like frequencies like?
It's like every 2 weeks, I think. It's like something like that. So
You're not reading Kaiju, are you? Like that's on your list?
I am reading Kaiju, although I haven't gotten an up to date in the last like month or so, unfortunately. But that is definitely one that I've been like pretty like excited with. Actually, no, I have actually been up to date with that.
Yeah, because it's been on pause for like a month.
Yeah.
Or the new chapter came out, I think, like 2 weeks ago, like last week maybe.
Yeah, they're on like a little mini hiatus.
And it's ending. It's ending. I'm really sad about that.
Yeah, it's always sad when you actually see like a manga like come to end, especially one that you're liking to like the end, which is such a rare thing for a lot of manga.
Can I give another hot take?
Hit me with it.
I love when a manga knows when to end, when it knows when its stage time is up. I think Kaiju, this is my honest opinions, and this is no spoilers. Kaiju had a little bit of a lull, but that lull was not necessarily like bad. It was just kind of like re-gearing up and reloading. And you think the way it was being paced, it's kind of like, oh, are they going to do like the Naruto thing where it's just like, surprise, there's another villain on top of the surprise villain? And it's like, no, we're ending in like 3 chapters. And it's just like, oh, I'm kind of sad. I really enjoyed this journey. But good, because it's only like 129 chapters, I think, 130, something like that, which means it's not going to be like a super big. I'm going to add it to like my manga collection. But it's like one of those things where I'm like, oh wow, this went quick, but I feel like I could reread this like in a week and like enjoy the journey because also it was like so simple, but like, oh, thank God you knew when to end because I would have hated you if you went on too long. It's like a good friend who overstays their welcome.
Yeah, that's honestly the thing. It's like if you're ever sad about like a manga that you really like ending, just remember that it's how much you will not prefer it overstaying its welcome. As much as you'd like to believe that the author could just keep it going indefinitely.
Yeah, My Hero.
But not Vigilantes. Vigilantes ended perfectly, met the pace correctly, cannot sing its praises enough. I'm so excited for it.
Is it actually done?
My Hero Vigilantes? Oh yeah, it's already done.
Okay, I have a question because I know we talked like off camera about this. You were saying that a decent amount of things criticism you had with the original My Hero show or My Hero story, Vigilantes kind of like touched on more or like did better. Like some of your criticisms of like the Hero Society and the opinions you have to draw from it. Can you like just go into that? Because I remember I told you I was like, hey, let's save this for the podcast.
Yeah, so going very broadly into it, and I'm gonna try not to like drop any spoilers. I'm just gonna talk about like the broad themes. So, My Hero Vigilantes, if you somehow have not heard about it or you have just haven't like looked into it, it's basically My Hero Academia is the story of a world basically where superheroes are real. They have a very specific process where they have to go get a superhero license, and that's what My Hero Academia is all about. My Hero Vigilantes is essentially about the ones who don't want to go through the process of getting a certified hero and be a vigilante. And it's such an extreme process that actually in Japan it's called Boku no Hero Academia Illegals. So it's a very it's a very no thing being a vigilante. So the story basically starts with our main characters are all like vigilantes who go into it, and they are also being heroes in their own way. They go over like some very key criticisms of like what being like a certified hero is, and the culture that goes around that. It covers things that like I wish My Hero Academia actually just focused on, and it doesn't try to like over like scope itself by trying to take on like a bunch of other themes or other things. It focuses on the themes it wants to do, and it does them super well, and I love it so much for that.
every time you speak about this story, it makes me want to go watch and read it. But then every time I think about it, I'm like, My Hero severely upset me. We're probably going to do a Patreon episode where me and you get to like tear into My Hero the way we really want to, um, especially like with the end and some like the assumptions of the themes. But it's like, all right, if you had to rate it out of 10, would you say what would you give it out of 10? Vigilantes.
Oh man, that's actually really hard. I want to say maybe like 7.5 to 8 out of 10, honestly. Like it's so and of course like my out of 10 rating is like, there's a lot of context that has to go like into like that as far as like, how I like rate things versus like what they intended to deliver versus like something that's intended to be like a masterpiece artwork. So I'm not going to get into that with this episode because that's so much to get into, but to give basic things in terms of something that will leave you very satisfied and like feeling like that delivers on the story themes that it wants to and does so, I think it does it extremely well. I think that there are some things that they probably could have done a little better with like some characters here and there, but which I'm not going to go into detail for avoiding spoilers. But I think on the whole, I came out of leaving that very satisfied, sad that it ended, but happy that it happened.
I love that. Okay. Also, me and you are going to like start breaking down our criteria for how we rate things because I know how hard it is for something to get like above a 7 with you. Because like you try giving real credit, but then I could see the look in your eye be like, oh, if I'm giving you credit for this, that means like I have to take this other thing. So like for everybody listening, Steve giving a 7.5 or 8 means like most other people's scales is like a 9, like is around a 9-ish. So I'm all right. You convinced me. I'll check it out when I'm not like reading Windbreaker. Which God, Windbreaker's so good. When I'm not gonna get into it now because I yap about it too much, but like I'm just gonna put it this way: Windbreaker is the anti-toxic masculinity LGBTQIA plus friendly manga that no one saw coming. It's basically the anti-incel manga and anime about like boys in a delinquent school in a non-self-aggrandizing way, but that's for another episode.
We would be very intrigued to hear more about that. I would definitely be very intrigued to hear about that.
Well, you can also hear about it when I run my panel on Windbreaker. That's the other reason. I'm saving all my good takes for that panel, which will also be recorded and posted on the ASN YouTube channel. Details to follow.
Which do you have an idea of which con you're going to host your panel at?
We can now introduce the other initiative. ASN now hosts panels ourselves. We will be live streaming them on YouTube and on Twitch, and they'll also live on our YouTube. So everyone, keep an eye out on our Instagram for that. Always be plugging, people. Always be plugging. All right. Are you now ready to get into the controversial side of anime again?
Are we going to be talking about the Crunchyroll Awards?
Yeah, and you know specifically what we need to talk about.
All right.
Do you want to introduce? Do you want to introduce it? Because I can see the look in your eye that had everybody in a tizzy.
I mean, so I feel like it's be kind of hard to kind of say like anything that's like not controversial because like it's important to think of it, but just get off the top of it. What the best anime awards according to Crunchyroll, and what that was, what was up against, and who ended up winning.
Steve, you are so nice, letting me be the controversial person. So, a couple of weeks back from us recording this, the Crunchyroll Awards were given out. Crunchyroll, the fans and whoever else goes in that voting block selected Solo Leveling as the anime of the year. Now, Solo Leveling, very good anime. I'll get into all my opinions about it later as someone who's like watching, tangentially experiencing it through other people. But it was up against Dandadan, Delicious in the Dungeon, Frieren Beyond Journey's End, Kaiju Number 8, and The Apothecary Diaries. So, a stacked field. Like, truly great storytelling with some anime having some scenes and controversial that I wish would not happen. Dun dun dun. But a lot of people will turn around and saw Solo Leveling win, and they were like, wait, Solo Leveling won, and it was season 1 of Solo Leveling. So not even like they just released like season 2, but it was season 1, back before it had like a ton of the hype that it has now. And a lot of people were kind of saying like Frieren should have won. So do you know like kind of the breakdown of what people's arguments were about before we get into like the meat of our discussion?
I don't know what people have like previously argued with, but I also have like my own like thoughts about this, and which is basically like I could kind of see this coming, and like I'm not too upset about it because of the fact that I saw this coming. But I'd like to curious like what you'd like to voice first.
So just voicing it, a ton of just around the uh, ecosphere that is the Twitter or X, like multiple platforms debating this, even amongst our own server. People were taking the stance of, and I don't like the way they said, so I'm going to do the clean way. They're basically saying Solo Leveling is effectively the Michael Bay of anime. It's a Michael Bay movie of anime. If you guys know Michael Bay, he's the director who you're leaning back because you get it. I have summed it up in that entire statement, and that probably makes you hate it more, doesn't it? Because now that I described it that way. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, Michael Bay's a producer who his movies are never really great at being plot driven. They do have a plot, but the plot is very basic. This happens. I'm going to kill Steve with this explanation. The plot of his movies are basically like they're super simple. It's nothing too complex. It's like bad guy beats up evil guy, gets girl in the end, gets reward, hand money, wait till sequel where bigger evil guy comes. Watch, rinse, and repeat. And so some people are saying Solo Leveling is that but anime. Beautiful fight scenes, well choreographed, and with a main character who is flatter than flatbread, but is just cool. And so some people are saying like, well, the flash of it, does that deserve to win over more complex stories like Dananan and Frieren Delicious Dungeon and Kaiju number 8, stories that are, and this is mostly Frieren because everybody thought that was going to be anime of the year, stories that have to deal with the complexity of grief, of growth, of sometimes losing something. And one of the biggest takeaways I got, and I can't remember who said this, and so I do apologize for me stealing your point, but I'm stealing it. Someone said it's a difference in what a fan base is looking for. Are you going to Solo Leveling because it's a simpler story and it attracts you as a viewer and you're excited to watch the next fight scene and you don't need the story to hook you? Or do you watch something like Frieren that's super complex and deep, where if you're specifically the person said if you're a little older, you get Frieren because you've had the chance to go through the stages of grief. You've lost something, whether by your own accord or just because life has taken it from you, which for the most part is like the story of Frieren. It's very much like a person is dealing with their grief while forging new relationships, which leans towards an older audience. So that's kind of like why I try to do a fair representation of what it was. Like you, I was not surprised Solo Leveling won because, well, Solo Leveling had the hype machine behind it, and that's not a bad thing. It did have the hype machine, but now I want to hear what you have to say before I get into like more into my actual thoughts.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing to kind of keep in mind is that, like, the Crunchyroll Awards and, awards are like it's a popularity contest, right? So it's so much harder for like uh, an anime that you might feel is more like artistically well done, and to put in quotation marks, than to win, as opposed to like, an anime that's able to like, really churn out some like numbers and really just get in like, win the popularity contest. Um, One of the things that like I kind of like think about, and it's the reason why like I never really get to like upset about these things. I mean, I am like I'm a bit of a gamer, you see, and part of that involves being like aware of the Game Awards. And if you've ever followed any of the Game Awards, man,
Call of Duty
man,
17. Call of Duty 17. And also, we're not making fun of you if you like these things because we like them too. It's just sometimes you like a Michael Bay film, sometimes you like the Fast and Furious films. Those are not The Godfather.
yeah. And like my feeling personally is, well, one, it's very easy to see how, because I feel like you get like a lot of animes that do have like different like themes, and they're gonna be split. Like the people who like really care about these things, they're gonna be split. They might like Freedom, but they might find that they identify more with Apothecary Diaries, or vice versa. Or they might like really I'm just glad to see like how Dan to Dan's do, and they might have been following that, and really like how like some engaging stuff is there. So it's hard for like you're gonna likely be very split. Personally, I am actually just really happy that an anime like Frieren is so popular that it's even considered a thing running in the awards because I feel like there's so much about Frieren is so unexpected to be like popular, like the fact it's a slow burn anime, the fact that it deals with so many themes and stuff that most times when people write stories like these, people just don't really want to like engage with, because sometimes it's like it's just a lot to take in. So, but the fact that Freerun is like able to like do these successfully and be well received and popular, I don't think I could be any happier about that, honestly.
I need to say it. It's crazy to have an anime where the main title character is not one of the more popular characters in Frieren.
That's true.
Like, also, I did not want the session to turn to Frieren Glaze Fest, but me and you both love it so much. Like, come on, this is currently next to me right now. Yeah, it's here. Okay, here's my. I'm probably like you in the. I'm also reading, like glancing at our producer's notes. Shout out to Clara, our producer. Shout out to you. It's just really funny reading our words back and be like, oh, I just literally said that 5 minutes ago. Like you, I was talking to my brother, who is also a YouTuber. Shout out to him through Ikage Summit. Listening where I knew as soon as I saw Solo Leveling was up for the award, I was like, I know that's gonna win. Like, there's a bigger part of me that's like, I know it's gonna win, and I think that team has put a wonderful anime out. It's popular for a reason, and I think it attracts the audience that wants to see like that flash, right? And I'm not going to be one of these people who goes like, "Oh, it's dumb." Even like with me saying like, "Oh, it's the Michael Bay of anime." I fucking love Michael Bay movies. Like, Michael Bay movies are good movies. Those are movies that got me through like
Yeah,
depressive state, right? Because it's
yeah,
just like,
yeah.
bro, I don't want that.
I love Fast and Furious movies. I will
Great
watch
movie.
that every time I feel like it is the popcorn movie. If you want to
Yes.
go, if you have a budget for like how many movies you're willing to see a year, let that be one of those things in the budget because that is a reason to go sit in a lazy boy chair and sit in front of a big ass screen and just eat like a bunch of
Yeah.
popcorn and regret the morning after.
Yes, exactly. Michael Bay is the reason why we go to movie theaters. However, other Solo Leveling is the reason why we like got into anime, right? And this is why I'm having a lot of like not mixed feelings, but Solo Leveling is pretty. It looks good. It captures your attention because there's no way. And I know I haven't like watched it fully through, but I've seen clips of it, right? There's the Egress versus Jin Woo fight where they are just beautiful choreography fighting, just straight hands are being thrown. It's flashes. It's intense. It's also captured. It's captured this cultural moment where everything from aura farming, Sun Jin Woo, he's the aura farmer, to everybody wants to be like him. That being said, it's one of these things where I'm like, okay, I don't. In my personal opinion, that's not enough because I've also seen this type of thing 15 times. Like, if you watch Solo Leveling, you have seen Solo Leveling 4 different times. If you don't believe me, Demon Slayer, super pretty, but the story is very hero's journey. Bing bang boom hit. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's just doing it really well. You can also say Dragon Ball Z to an effect. Good fight scenes, intense blasts, and it's the memes. But at least for me, I really think that like Frieren, I really thought Frieren should have won. I'm not going to hide that. I think all our listeners can tell I really wanted it.
I
Frieren was
would
the
have
thing that
loved
like
for
made me
Freerun to
cry.
win. I would have
Oh yeah,
honestly
loved
loved
it.
for it to win, but honestly, I am just very happy that like it's just as popular as it is. I'm fine. I'm happy.
But yeah, the fact that the argument was being made that people were like trying to ride for Frieren that hard, where it's just like, how could this not win? And it's just like, because it's a super dense story too. Like, for it to only be, it's 24 episodes that are out right now, maybe like 26. It's from last year as well. It got renewed for season 2. It's a dense story, and there's a point in time where we were at a friend's house. And I was showing some of my friends, and my friend was just like, I can't watch anymore. Not because it's not good, but just because like it's bringing up so many of these like intense emotions. Like, I've tried multiple times through the season where I'm like remembering not what's happening to the characters, but like reflecting on my own relationship with my dad, and then I'm like, damn, I need a palate cleanser, and I went and watched Mashal. Also, shout out to all those. I really should. We're going to have to talk about to our other friends who watched like Apothecary Diaries and everything. Though, but like, I don't know. It's really interesting to watch so many great complex stories and whatever we're putting Don to Don as, because that's a slow burn supernatural romance, kind of fail to Solo Leveling, but also shout out to that team who like put their foot in the animation and did really well. Because you know what, Michael Bay has $1 million or like a gajillion dollars. McDonald's sells a ton of hamburgers per day, and Solo Leveling has the Crunchyroll 2025 Anime of the Year award.
That's just how it is. And you know what?
Yeah.
There are far worse things that could have probably won, like the best like award. There are far worse like award like recognitions thing. I won't be like too like upset.
Yeah. Also, I love the fact that like I just get like I have my notes and it's just like no, we got this because me and you both know exactly what we want to say. All right, but now I just want to pose this question to you: What do if you had to pick one single trait to make a memorable anime? What do you think it would be?
Um, I would probably say, did it have a memorable execution of a theme, or was it just memorable? I think that's a very fundamental thing to like ask for something, and I think that's a very good way to kind of like weigh, like because if an anime isn't memorable, if it didn't like deliver on like a theme or something, um, it will fizzle, and people aren't really gonna like talk about it. I think that there's a lot of like animes that like ended and really didn't deliver on their themes, and no one really talks about them. And then you've got like ones like um if you've read Chainsaw Man, the end of part one, we're in spaces where it's tolerable to talk about the spoilers, people will talk about it. Um, and I think people will talk about Freerun as they already do now. There's even parts of like Dragon Ball Z, like for example, where like there are themes that do like deliver pretty well, especially like with some of the main characters. I mean, and I know it's the premiere like anime of like it's just like fighting and stuff, but there's some things about the characters and how they deliver like certain themes that are very memorable, and people take that with them.
Yeah, like the theme of Drip and Piccolo.
Exactly. It keeps emerging. It keeps going.
I know so many more people have done it way better than we could, but I want to do like a Dragon Ball Z retrospective. Like we have to try to get through a full arc of Dragon Ball Z without just wanting to quit watching it because I rewatched it in college all those years ago, and I forgot how much yelling is in that show. Like how much is just them yelling to power up because I've always watched like the Team 4 Star versions.
Yeah.
Like like I was
First
like
star like makes that concise.
yeah, it's just like, oh, cool. It's like 20, like this show should be 20 minutes. It's really good action. It's like, oh no, you're yelling for like at least a good 7 to 10 minutes. Like a third of this is yelling. This is ugh. But also like shout out to the animators, limitations of the time, blah 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 blah. Yes, I know it's a classic. RP to our boy Toriyama. Yes. What we're really getting into is, or what I was about to say is that theme is good. I would just probably say like, let me have a great story. I feel like no matter how much anime fans like love to say like, oh, the animation needs to be great, and we're like in what I'll call the heyday of animation technology. I feel like if you give a really good story and the animation is competent, it's going to live on in those circles of like, hey, this is what the good thing is, right? Like, look at all the other nominees for Anime of the Year. All of those were like super big story based ones where not that the animation wasn't good in a lot of them, because Down and On and Frieren had beautiful animation. But it's one of those things where like, hey, we're going to talk about the story, how like it made you feel. So I feel like this impact of story is probably going to be the best thing.
Yeah, I think I can definitely see that. The reason why I identified like theme is because it's such a very like broad but very core part that can go in anything. For example, like story is probably the most classic example of where theme can be like a best implemented. It could come into like the plot, it could come into the way of the character arc. But it can also go in other things that aren't related to the story. It can come in the artistic direction. How is it being animated? How is the character designs? What is the world that it's in? For example, like something being in like a cyberpunk style, like universe is like very likely going to hit like some themes on like capitalism, or like the dangers of like certain like areas of like abuse of technology. Whereas like something like Dragon Ball Z, it's a lot about like the importance of like learning how to like better yourself, and slapping fists
I was gonna say, call your one friend who you know is going to have the solution to the problem, and if you can't reach him, just call his son.
Just call his son, and he'll I don't know, have him get his ass handed to him by the villain and hand the villain the senzu bean or something, you know. But yeah, I think that's definitely like, I think story is the thing that like a lot of people kind of like tend towards, but don't maybe not necessarily and like they can like definitely feel towards. I think theme is like one of like the most like core things that like people like identify with when they like something.
You're probably right. You are most definitely right. But I just like saying I'm right, so I'm just gonna stick to my point. All right.
I'll take that. I'll take that. That's my solo leveling.
Cool. All right. Now I got to ask, just as we're bringing this back around and bringing it to a close, what was your what was one of your favorite anime from this past year that wasn't really mentioned in the anime awards, or like what's something you've been like watching heavily that you're like, oh, this is something that I think more people should be watching?
That wasn't mentioned in the anime awards.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question, honestly.
I'm so happy you're not going to steal mine.
I mean, I guess as far as something that's like the most recent, I guess oh, actually, so I think this one actually did get like recently come out. It's this Netflix anime which I think originally came out from AMC called Pantheon, which Pantheon, have you seen it?
My brother and sister were watching it, and I was like looking over their shoulder because I like trippy stories like that. So I don't know a lot about it, but it's one of those, oh, that's on my list when I'm not watching One Piece.
It gets very trippy to the end, but it hits like a lot of like themes that honestly feel like it's written by an author named Ken Liu, who's done like a lot of like really like deep like sci-fi stuff, and that's what Pantheon's like built into as well. It's like a lot of like sci-fi and transhumanist elements, like taking your consciousness, digitizing it, and trying to attain digital immortality. It handles a lot of these themes super well. And so like I feel like that's definitely one that, and it's an anime that's like I wish would be half as popular as Frieren, a quarter as popular as Frieren. I don't think it is, but I would love that.
It's made by AMC, you said, right? Or like it premiered on AMC?
I think it premiered on AMC because I was surprised to find that like because it came out on Netflix. The second season came on Netflix, I think, this year. But what didn't come out on Netflix this year, it came out apparently in AMC in like a couple of years ago. So it's just like
AMC and FX have sleeper hits, and not even like sleeper hits. Those were my. I'm going to sound like I'm not giving them a compliment. AMC and FX were like what I watched when I was first trying to like consume better crafted media as like a shitty 10th grader. And now as an adult, I'm like, it wasn't that good, but now I'm watching, I was like, oh, these are like really good complex stories that they're just like producing. Also, are those those are technically not networks, like standard networks, right? They're considered premium channels.
FX and AMC, or
yeah, I can never remember.
They are like networks that have like their own like studios, or like they get like shows that are licensed exclusively to them. Because that's kind of like what AMC has a deal with for Netflix, for example, right? Like AMC has like a lot of their exclusives that they eventually put on Netflix, but until then, you can only find it on AMC Plus or the channel AMC, which people have cable apparently. If you have cable, if you're the 5%.
No one's buying AMC Plus. That's like the high dive of streaming services.
Yeah,
and I'm saying that someone who pays for high dive.
How much is a subscription on AMC Plus? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, look at this subscription. Maybe we can convince our president to let us get AMC Plus to just explore it.
Sample for the controversial takes, which I don't think there's going to be anyone batting for AMC Plus.
Watch, we're going to get a lot of people. We're going to get like either 50,000 people in our comments or like one real like AMC Plus stan.
I think what will be heartbreaking is if that person's like, I was actually really liked a lot of AMC Plus shows, and I'm going to be like, I'm sorry.
No. Hey, if you're that person in our comments, or you want to fake being that person, don't be sad. Like, be rude to us. Because if you're like sad and reasonable, we're going to feel like dicks. At least I will. No shade to High Dive, because that also has Call of the Night, which is using. I have it on my manga to read list, but it's another Creepy Nuts opening banger that's using like Afro beats, and I'm just like, I gotta watch this off the opening alone. Creepy Nuts is 3 for 3. But once again, it's on High Dive, and no one owns High Dive but me. And you want to know why I have High Dive? Because I signed up for Verve.
You might actually have to explain to people what high dive is, because they might not know. I myself did not know. I'm only finding this out from Googling
Yeah, I can see okay. So folks, back in the before times, during lockdown when all of us became like super anime fans, there was this streaming service called Verve that packaged a bunch of. I feel so old because I now need to realize there's a point in time where like there weren't 10,000 streaming things like channels. All right, y'all. Back in like 2020, back in lockdown, when everyone decided they wanted a streaming service, and Silicon Valley was just raking in cash for remote jobs, there was the service called Verve, which paired very tiny streaming services. So think like the Rooster Teeth streaming service and like Rooster Teeth was on it. That's why I got it. Rooster Teeth, like it was $10, and you got like the access to 7 different streaming networks. And then each of them had like weird anime showed. I need to like look this up again. We're going to do a full deep dive of this.
I do remember the Rooster Teeth like call outs. So I remember Rooster Teeth like talking about this and just being like, my brain just being like, I don't know what that is. Yeah. I just assumed they're just like a plug.
Yeah. So Verve was a thing, and they were like ringing a deal. You also got like High Dive. I can't remember what's on High Dive, but I'm not going to say it's bottom of the barrel anime because I don't believe in insulting it. However, it's a lot of anime with like 15 word titles that involve reincarnated as a farmer in the vending machine era. It's like housing that stuff. But then other things that just couldn't make it to Crunchyroll.
From bureaucrat to villainess, Dad's been reincarnated. Yandere, a dark elf. Sword of the Demon Hunter. Sorbo.
It reads like the cutting room floor of Hulu when they were first getting into anime. And if you know anything about watching anime on Hulu, Bleach is carrying them. The look of shock on your face, and are all my reactions or all my descriptions of it inaccurate?
Yeah, it's like there. The only one that I recognize is in here is Oshinoko, which I'm kind of surprised Oshinoko's in here.
Oshinoko like was on there. I think every so often they will get like a good solid one where you're like, oh, that's not on Crunchyroll. They have they have that. They
hold it with like these death grips, like we finally got one.
For my music fans, High Dive just has these production houses in 360 deals. But bringing this all the way back to the original point, the anime that I have been watching, that I feel like more people need to watch is To Be Hero X. It is so good. It's like, okay, I think we mentioned this in episode 1, or at least like the episode that's never going to see the light of day. To Be Hero X is about it's an anthology series where you're in this world where you get powers based on how much someone trusts you, like a celebrity. But then your powers are dictated by the public's perception of you. And they get stronger or weaker based on how much like the public likes you. So it's essentially like, I'll use this for example. Say hypothetically, I went viral for like, I don't know, like just say hypothetically, I went viral for like skydiving. Yeah, shout out to you, Clara. You recognize To Be Hero X. You also recognize how messed up the world is. But yeah, shout out to our producer who is validating my love of this show. Say like I went viral for like skydiving stunts. I would get the power of like flight. However, the corollary to the power would be you can only fly if you're already free falling in the air. You can't take off originally. You have to be free falling to be able to fly. So it's like, and I don't want to spoil anything that like comes in like the second episode of it because
like, jump. I just want to like clarify this for viewers, kind of somebody else. So you have to like be like, could you like just jump and then fly, or like how does that work?
It depends. You know what? Actually, spoiler for To Be Hero X episode 2. Just to give you the example, you so in the world you're watching like the first in the second episode you meet this hero called Firm Man, And his story is like he saves a little girl from like a burning building collapsing on her just by like holding it up. And so his thing, he becomes like, hey, I just thought about standing firm for this little girl. So the public, so he gets super strength, and you're like, oh, that's really cool. The weird monkey's paw of the situation is the fact that he can't lay down. He has to remain standing all the time. Like his body physically won't let him bend over or lay down to go to sleep. He has to remain standing.
You can't like do like one of these deals where he holds up stiff and there's like a trust fall.
No, it's like it's basically like his shoes are rooted to the floor unless he is like taking a step or like walking around. It's it's truly weird monkey's paw territory. There's another hero who gets the power of teleportation, but their power makes them where they can only teleport to a specific location that moves everywhere because of how the public perceives them. And so it's getting really interesting because we're like 12 or 13 episodes in. Through this series, you're watching all these different heroes engage with the world, but you can tell there's this like weird series of manipulative steps happening in the background. And I like this. The reason I think I like it so much is it's doing a lot of what My Hero Academia didn't do. We're never going to get through an episode without me sending a shot at My Hero Academia because I used to love that show.
I do. I also want to clarify this, by the way. Like all of the shots that we take out of My Hero isn't because we hate My Hero. It's because we loved it to a point and wish it could have been something so much more. I want to like make sure that that's like we're not treating My Hero in the same way you would treat. I don't know.
The Asterisk War, the Ass War. It was one of the worst anime ever made. I will stand on that fucking point. It's relegated to Hulu hell.
I don't know what that anime is, and I don't think I'll ever find out, I guess. That's that bad. Man,
good. It's like the eating at Arby's of anime. So in 2B Hero X, it's a society where like it's truly you being a celebrity makes you a hero. And the heroes are constantly battling for rankings, and you can tell this thing's going on in the background. But instead of following one hero, you're getting the viewpoint of multiple different ones. So you get to see some heroes who are like, nah, man, I'm in it for like the money. But then you get to see like some truly altruistic ones or other ones who are like, I never wanted any of this hero stuff to begin with. I was just thrust into this position. And it's really interesting because you can see how each one is impacted by society, what some of the big players who are invested in the system want to keep going. And it's really interesting to like see like what gets hidden and not talked about. And it's one of those things where I don't want to. I'm sorry, I'm looking at it or talk to us in the chat. I don't want to say like it's going to be like top 10 no matter what, because I don't think so. But it's one of these ones where I started watching because I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And now I make it a point of like every Monday on my like lunch break, I'm going to sit down and like make sure I watch it. Like load the Crunchyroll app up. I think actually no, I think it releases on Saturdays, like Saturday nights here in the US. So I either watch it like Sunday or I watch it like Monday. And just want to say, there's an episode where we get to see one of the heroes and we get her backstory about how she has the powers. And I had to go for a walk around my block and just kind of breathe out while I cried. Aww. It's another anime that made me cry. Yeah, I can tell you off air. I just don't want to spoil it, but it tore me apart. And the worst part is, my brother and sister, I watched the episode like an hour before I did, and they came in and saw me watching it in my room, and they just patted me on the shoulder and left before I even knew what happened.
This is the anime 2B Hero X.
2B Hero X. It's on Crunchyroll. I wanted to get another shot in that High Dive, but like Verve is defunct. I don't know if High Dive is going to be around much longer. I'm going to like look up other weird anime streaming services. Eventually, we got to get to one that's like going to respond back to us.
I feel like the weirder you get, you'll eventually get to the point where you just find streaming services that used to be legit pirate sites. Kind of like what Crunchyroll was, but like, you know, to a certain extent, yeah.
You know, that's a history of Crunchyroll that you told me that I didn't believe until I looked it up, and I'm like, this is true. Now they produce a podcast about anime, or they did like a history. It's really good. It has Yadoye and Travis, who was from the YouTube channel Beyond the Bot, and like Frederator in them. and he like narrates it, and they just go into like how anime basically became a thing in the West. Like they talk about early conventions and stuff. It's no more than 7 hours. It's like real brief, but I think it's like worth your time to like listen. I downloaded it on the plane flight and like put it and listen there and back. But we had a good little amount of yapping.
We are two professors of yaponomics right here.
I have my minor in yapology. We'll focus in Wumbo.
Major in yapping science or some such.
All right. We don't have a good way to sign off, but this is a Cyborg and co-host.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed this episode, as we are still figuring things out, but we're hopefully better than we were previous episode, and previously than the episode that I guess will never be aired. I guess that's what we're calling it. That which
you guys got to pay that $15 for this for the bloopers.
Yeah, let's go with that. And I'm signing off as Akkere/Steve.
All right, have a good one, y'all. Bye.
Bye.